the effort of the practitioner is to rise oneself from the material plane to the spiritual plane. Like, for example, the jnanis try to go from the Jiva-bhuta state to the Brahma-bhuta stage. See, the word Atma means the soul. But when the word is living entity is used, what is the difference between the word soul and living entity? Living entity means a soul covered by subtle body. He is called living entity. It's called Jiva Bhuta. And a Jiva Bhuta soul has to become Brahma Bhuta. What is Brahma Bhuta? That means his consciousness is completely on a spiritual platform. He identifies himself as Aham Brahmasmi. I am not the body, I am spirit soul. So jnanis achieve this consciousness with strenuous effort of neti process. I am not this gross body. I am not the mind. I am not the intelligence. I am not the ego. And I should not identify with any of the things of this world. Moha means to think I am the body. Mahamoha means to think anything related to my body, like my industry, my car, my suitcase, my family members, my belongings are all mine, to think like that. That's called Mahamoha. So they try to get rid of Moha and Mahamoha by trying to withdraw themselves by the neti process. Na iti. It's a very, very difficult process it is. And also they try to ascertain the truth as Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. Whereas the bhaktas have a different way. Instead of trying to get rid of these material identifications, which are all superficial covering and they are superfluous to the soul. These are not belonging to soul, it is just a covering which has come upon us due to material consciousness. So bhaktas have a different approach. What they do? They, instead of withdrawing the consciousness, they post their consciousness as Krishna's servant. Jivara Sarupahoi Krishna Nityadas. I am servant of Krishna. And they think in relation to Krishna. There is a famous verse in the Bhagavatam. Bhayam dvitiyada viniveshata syat ishadapetasya viparyayo asmritihi tanmayayato bhuja avajetam bhaktekaisham guru devatatma. This verse says, as soon as we become bhinnadrik, which means separatist mentality we get. What is separatist mentality? To forget the fact that I am Krishna's servant and to identify ourselves with the material world. That is called Dvitiya consciousness, secondary consciousness. Primary consciousness is I am Krishna Das. Secondary consciousness is to think that I am not Krishna Das, I am this body, I am a man, I am a woman, I am fair, I am black, I belong to this country and all those things. As soon as that consciousness comes, two things he says, Viparyayo Asmriti. One is, he says that one, Viparya means one actually turns away from Krishna. Asmriti means forgetfulness. That means one becomes cut off from Krishna and one also gets forgetfulness of Krishna. These are the two curses that comes upon us when we take our consciousness away from Krishna. So now we have to come back to remembrance of Krishna and we have to turn towards Krishna. So we should not misidentify with the body, nor should we turn away from the Lord. So how do we do that? Like there is a famous verse, Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikeda rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. So one should know that Sarva Upadi vinirmuktam. Remove all the designations. There are 5 designations given in that famous verse. Yasyatma buddhir kona petri dhatuke swadhi kalatra dishu bhauma ijjadi yat tirtha buddhi salilena karhichit janeshu abhigneshu sayeva gokaraha. This verse says, first of all, one should not think I am this body. One should not think things belonging to the body are mine. One should not identify with the place of birth in which one is born. And one should not go to a holy place only for sightseeing, but one should go to a holy place for associating with the saintly persons. Isn't it? And in this way, he says that one should not identify with all one's material acquisitions and achievements and everything. But one should know that I am aloof from all these things. Then I come to Brahma-bhuta stage. From the Jiva-bhuta stage, I can come to Brahma-bhuta stage. Now, what is the advantage in Brahma-bhuta stage? In that stage, you become oblivious to the world around you. You become materially inert and spiritually alert. And that platform is very good platform for one to further progress in spiritual life. Therefore, you see this famous verse, Brahma-bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samaha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktir labate param. Krishna is telling, in that Brahma-bhuta platform, na shochati, there is no lamentation, na kankshati, there is no hankering for anything in this material world. One is completely satisfied. You see all living entities equally. And at that stage, he says, Mad Bhaktir, Labate Param. From there, my bhakti starts, he says. Which means we are in negative axis now. Brahma-bhuta is the 0, and pure devotion is positive axis. That means Krishna says actual bhakti begins from 0, only. He says, when a jnani completely realizes I am Aham Brahmasmi, eventually he will come to bhakti. That's why you say, Bahunam Janma Namante, Jnanaman Ma Prapatite, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He understands Vasudeva is everything. Then the real bhakti starts. Then what are we doing? Are we doing bhakti or not? We are trying to come to Shuddha Bhakti. We are in negative axis. We are slowly trying to purify our designations. That's why we are trying to get rid of material designations and identify ourselves spiritually. So the senses should be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. By doing that, the senses are like iron rod put in fire becomes fiery. Our senses also become spiritualized. Like our pujari, he is seeing the deity, he is touching the deity, he is bathing them, dressing them, decorating them. Then they get purified, remembering Krishna. Similarly, with the eyes you see the Lord, with the ears you hear the kirtan, with the nose you smell the scent offered to him, with the tongue you eat the prasad, with the tongue you sing his holy names, with the leg you walk to the temple, with the hands you raise the hand and dance. Slowly we are trying to uplift the senses to put them in the fire of Krishna consciousness, to become fiery, spiritualize the senses. Similarly, mind we are spiritualizing by chanting the holy name. Intelligence we are spiritualizing by study of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata. Ego we are purifying by living in the company of devotees and living respectfully, not hurting one another, not offending one another, but respecting one another. Then the ego gets purified also. In this way, we are trying to gradually get relieved of the material identifications and go to spiritual identification. Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you see his lifestyle when he was living in Jagannath Puri, early morning he would go to Jagannath Puri temple for darshan. And then he would take part in the Mangalarati, kirtan, dancing, singing, everything. And then you see him going to the ocean side, and he would be chanting many hours. Till noon or so he will chant. Till 12 or 1 he would chant. Then he would go to the Jagannath temple and bring the prasad to Siddhabakul, to Haridas Thakur, and go and give him, or he will send Govinda to take the prasad for him. And then he, along with the devotees, would do 3 hours of dancing kirtan. After the lunch you rest, and then evening again you will find another 2-3 hours of kirtan with all the Bengali Vaishnavas who would come. So basically Mahaprabhu's life was centered around taking darshan of the Lord and dancing in front of the deities, and then doing Harinam Sankirtan. And then he would go to Tota Gopinath temple, where he would meet Gadadhar Pandit, who will recite from the Srimad Bhagavatam. All the very advanced Vaishnavas will sit and relish Bhagavatam. That means he would do Mangalarati attendance, then dancing, chanting kirtan, and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, and go to South India to preach, and go to different parts of the country to distribute what you learned. And he himself did these things. And then what did he tell his associates to do, like Goswamis? He told them 4 things. Go to Vṛndāvana, identify the holy spots, establish temples, and install the deities there, and worship the deities. And also write the spiritual literature based on the scriptures, highlighting the devotional service clearly. And then preach that message of the scriptures. That means install deities and worship them, write the literatures and teach them, and you yourself practice them in an exemplary way, and inspire people to also practice them. This is what he taught the Goswamis also. So therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami in essence He says that Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Tishthan Prajeta Danuragi Jananugami Kalam Naye Dakilamityupadesha Saram. The Upadesha Saram of the entire Upadeshamrita book is this. Tat Nama Rupa Charita Adi Sukirtananu is saying Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes, activities should be always glorified in whichever place you are living. Smrityo, remember them. Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya. How do you start the remembrance of Krishna? He says, start with the tongue, he says. The tongue has two activities, one to vibrate, one to eat. Eat prasad and vibrate Krishna Nam. Chant Krishna's name and Krishna's katha and eat the prasadam. And in this way avoid prajalpa, avoid rumor mongering and avoid all kinds of blasphemy and gossip and all those things. Only glorify Krishna and chant the holy name and eat prasad with that. If you do this, gradually your remembrance of Krishna will increase. Be grave, be silent when it comes to useless talks. Always talk about Krishna. Always propagate Krishna consciousness. Always chant the holy name. Preserve your energy and use it only in the direction of Krishna. He says. And then he's saying, Tishtan Vrajeta Danuragi Jananugami. Whichever home you are living or the temple, let it be like Vṛndāvana Dham. Live in Vṛndāvana consciousness. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anywhere he turned and saw a mountain, he thought it is Govardhan. Any river he saw, it is Yamuna. Yeah. Any forest he saw, he thought it is Vṛndāvana. Anywhere he saw cows, calves, immediately remembered Krishna. Always he heard Krishna's flute sound. Wherever he saw the sand dune, he ran behind it thinking it's Govardhan. So he says that he was living in Vrindavan consciousness wherever he was. Similarly, you may be in the busiest of the city, but if you're reading the spiritual literature like Krishna book and Bhagavatam, then gradually your consciousness will become posted in Vrindavan. In Bhagavatam it is said, when Uddhava was inquired by Vidura, please tell me about Krishna. Uddhava immediately cried streams of tears. And then Prabhupada says he came down from Vaikuntha, Prabhupada says, and then came to the external consciousness. He was standing there only. How did he come from Vaikuntha? In his consciousness. He was in Vaikuntha and he came down and then explained to Vidura about Krishna's pastimes. Similarly, we may physically live in a busy city, but our consciousness should be in Vrindavan. That is called Tishtan Vraje. Tat Anuragi Jananugami. Prabhupada is Anuragi Jan, who is attached to Krishna's lotus feet always. 24/7 he is always talking about Krishna. And we have been blessed to be fortunate to come in this ISKCON society, where Prabhupada and his faithful followers, and then his grand disciples, and even more other devotees, they're all coming in this line of Brahma-bhuta Gaudiya Sampradaya. Stick to the instructions of that Anuragi Jan. Become Anugami. Anugami means follow in his footsteps. Tishtan Vrajeta Danuragi Jananugami. Kalam Nayet. In this way you spend your time. How? Attend the morning Aarti programs, chant the holy name, hear the Srimad Bhagavatam or speak the Srimad Bhagavatam in the assembly of devotees, chant and dance in the Harinam Sankirtan, and establish temples and worship the Lord, distribute the holy name to the people, go out and preach, distribute books, distribute prasad, distribute Harinam Sankirtan. That's all. This is life of devotee. You'll go back to Godhead. No need to do anything else. So don't get into wrong track of simply becoming a scholar, or don't get into the wrong track of offending one another and hurting oneself and hurting others. Don't get into wrong track of sahajaism, pretending to be advanced Vaishnava, rolling on the ground and weeping and pretending. Don't go and do Nirjan Bhajan. Nirjan Bhajan means going to a secluded place and chanting 128 rounds to become a popular Vaishnava. Don't do that. Don't read other literature other than Vaishnava literature. Avaishnava Mukhodgirana Putam Harikatamritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam. Sarpochishtaitapaya. If you are going to hear different lectures by different people who are not proper Vaishnavas, you will fall down in spiritual life. It's like a milk touched by a serpent. So keep ourselves within the umbrella that Prabhupada has given for us in the society. And in this way, our material identifications will be finished, nullified. Very soon we will recognize I am Krishna's servant. And Krishna is my master. Krishna is my mother, father, friend, be all, end all, everything. And in this way, we may be walking and moving in the material world, but we will be posted in the spiritual world. And this is the way one can come to the Brahma-bhuta platform, from Jiva-bhuta to Brahma-bhuta platform. Then the mind will not wander. When you are chanting the holy name, mind has no business in the material world. The mind will actually, even if some thought arises, it will be a spiritual thought. It will be thoughts of supplication. Ekona bujinu Prabhu Tomara charana Ashoka bhayamrita Purna sarvakhana Sakala chadiya tuva Charana kamale Huriyachi aminatha Tava padatale Amitava Amitava Nityadasa. In this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about, my dear Lord, you are my protector, you are my maintainer, you are my master, and you are my supreme friend. But now I have become independent of you in this world and I am suffering in this world. Please kindly accept me. So these kind of thoughts should arise during the chanting. Krishna, you are my supreme friend. How foolish I am that I have turned away from you. Your shelter is the safest and most joyful shelter. And I am seeking shelter all around the world foolishly. So these kind of thoughts are very favorable thoughts for chanting. And then the chanting will assume the quality of namabhas, where the clearing of the anarthas will take place. Then more the anarthas cleared, more the prema will be born, and the devotee will become very joyful in spiritual life, even while wandering in the material world. And for the devotee, this birth is the last birth. One will cast away the material coil, material body, and then go back to Godhead. Harinam Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.